Hey gang, Ronan here. As you can see in this game, I'm playing the Tier 10 Imperial Japanese Navy destroyer Shimakaze. The Shimakaze is pretty stealthy. If you've got the commander set up properly, it's very stealthy. It has very hard-hitting torpedoes, and it has a lot of them. They've got, well, I would say it's probably fair to say most people set them up with 12-kilometer range. It has an 8-kilometer range and a 20-kilometer range available, but I think, I can only speak for myself, but I think it's true of most people who play this ship regularly. The 12-kilometer torpedoes are the most utilitarian. They are nowhere near as easy to spot as the 20-kilometer torpedoes, and they don't require that you get to suicidal close range to use them like the 8-kilometer torps. So anyway, they are the well-rounded of the three version of the torpedoes. Just put it that way. Speed is decent, not great, but decent. You can see the speed boost is activated here. Looking at the opposition, there's a little bit of radar. Got a couple of Des Moines and Alexander Nevsky. DDs, well, pretty much any of those DDs can outgun the Shimakaze. So unless you get lucky and land torpedoes, it's tough to win a gunfight in a Shimakaze. It's not that it can't be done. If you angle properly, maybe get somebody chasing you. The Shima guns hit very hard, and they have nice flat arcs. I really like them. If the turrets turn faster and the guns reloaded faster, this ship would be a gun menace. But it's really not. Our Holland is pushing in to the Alpha Cap. It's risky. Sometimes it pays off, but it's risky because you never know where the radar is hiding. And I'm going to throw torpedoes out just kind of as area denial behind the Holland. Sometimes you get somebody that wants to park right there at that corner. So now here's a spot that I really like on this map. If you played EDs and you've never used this spot, I highly recommend it. Now you can see the angle there. There's a way to get into this cap with the tail end of your ship without putting yourself in torpedo jeopardy. Now, if somebody comes from, say, the upper right corner of the screen and they can get torpedoes through that little tiny gap between the islands there, yeah, you got to be careful of that. But you can always accelerate forward and maneuver to try and avoid getting hit. But this little spot right here, I love this spot. And I have solo capped this a fair number of times through the years by doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Now in this case I've got lots of help in the cap. Holland and gearing both in there, but that's what I do. And I wasn't really sure what they were going to do, whether Holland was going to end up staying in there or not, so I positioned to be able to secure that cap. Now the Wooster here is pointing out, hey, you got a Gros Savoy on this side, somebody please blap it. Well, pushing into a Gros Savoy is not something I want to do in Shimakaze. It's not something I want to do in too many destroyers. Gros Savoy is, well, that's a real hornet's nest if you poke that. I was feeling pretty good about things until I saw those guys. And I really should just turn chat off, because every time I look at the chat, I end up being irritated, disappointed, or both. Now, what I've done here is I've just angled up to give myself the most narrow possible profile to the incoming shells. He's still smacking me around a little bit. and I am using the speed boost to be able to move a little more quickly. So I was able to minimize the damage that I took from the Grossovoy and avoid those torpedoes. Now we've got 3 caps right now, which is great. We've got a little bit of a points lead. I have about 112 points. But it's risky pushing out here, and I'm watching this Wooster, and I'm thinking to myself, even right now, okay, this is somebody that got irritated because a battleship got too close to him, so he's going to make himself visible and get himself blapped because he's pink. Yeah, there are an unfortunate number of players that play this game, or probably any game online, who act like that. So, we're down a Wooster. So I'm going to have to do what I can to avoid getting spotted out here. Grossovoy does have torpedoes, of course, but at this range I'm not too worried about him. Kremlin's probably going to reverse back behind the island as much as he's able. These torpedoes are not exactly what I would call super speedy. They're fairly quick. But I'll consider myself lucky if I catch him with even one. But instead, he is moving forward, and that's going to give him less time to maneuver. He eats 1 from the first set, 1 from the second set, one from the third set, and Vermont finishes him off. Now I'm watching this thinking there's no way this Des Moines is just going to just head right into the torpedo. But now you can see there on the main screen, our Holland is really banged up. So he's healing like mad right now. He had a little scrape with the Harugumo and barely survived it. Now, here's a Grossovoy that I was talking about earlier. It's a very tough ship. It's got pretty much every tool you could want. But he pushed in close to not just the Shima, but a Gearing and a Montana. Meanwhile, the enemy Thunderer takes out the friendly Minotaur. And now our points lead is, what, about 180 points, more or less. Still got 2 caps. Bad guys have got 2 caps. I know there's a Harugumo out here somewhere. But I don't know whether that's him that I'm seeing on the radio location indicator or that Hindenburg. Hindenburg really isn't going to want any part of Montana. You can see he's turning out. He's probably going to run. There's a Thunderer way back there. Now, as you look at all these ships on the minimap, you'll see little circles around them. That's a new toy that I found in the minimap mod that I use. It gives you, at a glance, kind of a rough idea of how many hit points a ship has left. And you can see that the little circles around the ship correspond pretty accurately to the amount of remaining HP that you see on the ship if you have it targeted. Now you can see Thunderer there, how many hit points he has, and if you look at the little circle around him, it gives you a pretty good idea, roughly a quarter of his hit points. Now what am I doing here? I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to catch the Harugumo, because where the indicator is pointed right now, I'm pretty sure that it's the Harugumo here, and then I'm not seeing the Hindenburg on the radio location. And I'm sitting right here and not doing much of anything because I want to see if he comes in the cap. If he does, I'm going to do one thing. If he doesn't, I'm going to do another thing. Okay, he's right there. He was reversing. Just make sure And now I can push right on out, get as much speed as I can, just in case he decides to push on in this way, which I imagine he will, because he's got a Gearing and a Montana behind him. Now Montana goes down, our Smolensk goes down, and I'm suddenly realizing if that Harugumo comes out now, Gearing may not fire. So I hold one set of torps, swing the guns around. You can see how slow the turret rotation is on these things. And those torps are for Thunderer, and these are going to be for Harugumo. And I'm going to just smoke up here and pray that I can survive this. I moved forward to avoid getting hit by torps, but I thought I'd get covered from the island a little bit faster, and I didn't, so I got blapped. But I did manage to catch the Harugumo. And the Thunderer. Okay, so we're a little over 11 minutes in. I managed to sink 4 ships. But our team's been doing, well, not very well, I guess, probably fair to say. You can see that our Holland and our Gearing, they're both still in the game. Both very low on HP. Our Vermont still has a lot of HP, and he's a very hard-hitting ship, but our Kremlin looks like he's about to get sunk. I think he probably should have rammed. Instead, he went by the Republic, and now he's going to be taking fire from 3 ships at very close range, so he's dead. You can see the Holland over there shooting guns at the Nevsky, trying to distract him. Kremlin manages to do about 3,000 to the Nevsky. And Kremlin is sunk. So now the bad guys have 5 ships, we've got 3, we've got 700 and some odd points to their 477. Now, there's a radar cruiser pushing right at this Holland. Now, you tell me, why? Why is the Holland reversing out there? Was this worth it? Yeah, you can see my excited comment there. Not only did he back out there and get himself spotted, he used his guns, which made his bloom go, and so he just remained detected. And just like that, we're down to 2 ships. And the bad guys are about to take the Bravo cap. Now we've got our Gearing, and he's throwing torps, staying away. That's smart. My suggestion to him, go south. 6 minutes left. You don't want to get radared. So you got radar on one side in the form of the Nevsky, and you got the Hindi on the other side, which is a cruiser with fantastic hydro. So landing a torpedo on him it's possible. And the angle looks pretty good here. So, in that regard, I stand corrected. Gearing landed a torpedo and finished off the Hindenburg, but he still was pushing toward a Nevsky. Now Vermont is tangling with an Ohio now. Vermont has fantastic guns, but Ohio is no slouch. It's got fantastic accuracy. And the Ohio is, I think, a little bit better angled than the Vermont. I'm just pointing out that I know that the last known position of the Gearing was kind of straight ahead of the Vermont. Now, why do I recommend reversing? Well, I recommend that because he's got a Nevsky there, an Ohio there, and a DD in front of him. If he keeps pushing forward, the Nevsky's going to be able to get AP shells into his broadside. If he angles up to the Ohio, he's going to eat torpedoes. If you reversed, you could keep out of harm's way from the Nevsky. He does eat a torpedo. Now he's got 3 ships firing at him, and another volley of torpedoes coming in. Now maybe he gets the Nevsky, but I'm not sure that's really all that great a trade. He does get the Nevsky. Okay, so we've got 1 ship left, and that's our gearing. Now where does the gearing go? Where should he go? Take a minute and think about that, or just think if you were playing the gearing, what would you do? The radar cruisers are gone. The enemy team has a gearing and an Ohio. Ohio is very, very accurate. You have 4,839 HP. If you are able to stay alive for 4 minutes and 18 seconds, and maybe slow the points on the B cap, probably win this game. He's got people telling him that in the chat box. Now I will admit that I looked later, and if memory serves, Star 2 clan is a Brazilian clan, and it's possible that this player does not speak English. Maybe he only speaks Portuguese. And if that's the case, everything we were typing wasn't making a whole heck of a lot of sense to him. Ohio knows right where he's at. It's, at least to my mind, pretty likely that either the Ohio or the gearing has radio location and knows right where the gearing's going to be. Now I'm asking him to get in the cap just to stop the points, because we've still got 3 minutes to go. And it's very likely that gearing is heading for the alpha cap to stop our points altogether. Now I don't know for sure, but if nothing changes, we could win this in 2 minutes and 26, 2 minutes and 17 seconds. And you can tell that by the little, just underneath all the ship icons at the very top of the screen. You can see 208 and 418. That's if nothing else changes. That's how fast we'll win. And that's just enough time to win the game on points. Now I was suggesting that the gearing continue away from the Ohio. Instead, he turned broadside to the Ohio and then turned back. And he has to slow way down to avoid hitting the island. If he gets detected, pretty sure we all know what's going to happen. So, for the remainder of us who were here watching this, there was a whole lot of unnecessary stress. This game's in the bag, as long as this guy doesn't get killed. So what is he doing? Now he's got to be really close to being detected here. Really close. And he's got an Ohio at that kind of range. And missed every torpedo. And it's not like the Ohio went through all the torpedoes. Our gearing just missed. Frustration level intensifies. So now we need 53 points to win this game. Or we need this guy to stay alive for 1 minute and 9 seconds. So he didn't go in the cap to slow their points at all. He very nearly got himself pinned against the island and killed. All he has to do, literally all he has to do, is sail like toward Alpha 7, Alpha 8. And that's the game in the bag. So with 43 seconds left, you can imagine the irritation. You can see the comments there. You can imagine the irritation of those of us here still watching this, as he moves back toward the Ohio. And the one thing I don't know that it even occurred to him at all, you can see my spelling mistake there, was that the gearing might have come this way. he might have come around this corner and run into the gearing. Now in this case, we have a happy ending, but it might not have been, and I think we all know why. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.